Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been.
Don't think about the definition of an insult. I want you to think about that tightness in your chest when someone questions your competence in a meeting, or the sudden burning heat of embarrassment when a family member makes a passive-aggressive comment at the Thanksgiving dinner table. We have all been there. We have all lain awake at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, replaying a disrespectful moment over and over again in our minds. You replay the scene, wishing you had said something smarter, wishing you had been stronger, wondering why their words have so much power over your peace of mind. It is exhausting, isn't it? In a world driven by social status, workplace politics, and the endless noise of social media, we are constantly walking through a minefield of potential offenses. But what if I told you that you have been looking at insults the wrong way your entire life? In this video, we will not just teach you how to ignore these moments. We are going to hand you the psychological blueprint used by a Roman emperor, a man who faced betrayal, war, and constant criticism to turn every single insult into fuel for your own dignity and inner peace. Before we begin this journey to invincibility, if you are ready to build a mind that no one can conquer, I invite you to click subscribe and join the Timeless Wisdom official community today. Let's reclaim your power.
Section 1. The Anatomy of the Sting, Why It Hurts. To understand how to defeat an insult, we first have to understand why it lands so effectively. Why does a collection of sounds coming out of another person's mouth, or a string of text on a screen, have the physical capacity to hurt you? Biologically, we are wired to care. Thousands of years ago, if you were insulted or rejected by your tribe, it meant death. You needed the group to survive. So, your brain evolved a warning system. When you feel disrespected, your amygdala, the threat detection center of your brain, lights up just as if you were being chased by a predator. Your heart rate spikes, your cortisol rises, and your body prepares for a fight. In modern America, this ancient mechanism is often a malfunction. You are not being chased by a lion. You are just being criticized by a manager or trolled by a stranger on the internet. But your body doesn't know the difference. However, the Stoics identified a deeper, more uncomfortable truth about this pain. They argued that while the initial sting might be biological, the suffering that follows is a choice. Epictetus, the slave-turned-philosopher who greatly influenced Marcus Aurelius, famously said, "It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them." Let that sink in. It is their judgments concerning them. This means that the insult itself is neutral. It is just noise. It is just air vibrating. The hurt only happens when you intercept that noise, process it, and agree with it. You have to actively interpret the words as bad for them to harm you. If someone spoke to you in a language you didn't understand and called you a terrible name, you wouldn't feel a thing. You would probably just smile and walk away. Why? Because you didn't attach a judgment to the sound. The problem, specifically in our modern culture, is that we have tied our self-worth to external validation. We have handed the keys to our happiness to everyone else. When someone insults you, they are essentially handing you a package of poison. But here is the secret. You do not have to sign for the package. You do not have to accept the delivery. The moment you get angry, the moment you get defensive, you have accepted the package. You have agreed that their opinion has value. So, the first step in the Stoic defense is simply to recognize the ego spike. That split second where you feel the urge to defend your reputation. Catch that moment, acknowledge it, and then realize that your reputation is not you. Your character is you, and no one can damage your character without your consent. Section 2. The source of the insult. It's about them, not you. Now that we have looked at your reaction, let's turn the spotlight on the person attacking you. This is one of the most powerful shifts in perspective you will ever learn. In our competitive society, we often view the person insulting us as a villain, a powerful antagonist who is out to destroy us. We grant them so much authority. But Marcus Aurelius viewed them very differently. He didn't see villains, he saw patients. He saw people who were sick in the soul. Marcus wrote in his personal journals, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." He wasn't being a pessimist. He was mentally preparing himself for the reality of human nature. He understood that when someone is rude, insulting, or aggressive, it is almost never about you. It is a symptom of their own internal disorder. Think about the last time you snapped at someone. Maybe you were tired, maybe you were stressed about bills, maybe you felt insecure about your own job. You lashed out to release your own pressure. The Stoics teach us that the insulter is acting out of ignorance or pain. A happy, secure, and wise person has absolutely no need to insult anyone. The only people who insult others are those who are suffering themselves. People who are wrestling with their own demons, their own insecurities, and their own unhappiness. When a driver cuts you off in traffic and screams an obscenity, are they really mad at you? No. They are mad at their life. They are stressed, late, and lacking in self-control. You just happened to be the screen they projected their movie onto. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. This is crucial. If you respond to an insult with anger, you become just like them. You drag yourself down to their level of vibration. You enter the mud pit. But if you can look at them with a sense of detached pity rather than anger, you remain untouched. Instead of thinking, "How dare they say that to me?" try thinking, "What must be going on inside that person's heart for them to behave this way? How much pain must they be in to want to inflict it on others?" This reframing doesn't excuse their behavior, but it protects your peace. It turns your anger into curiosity. It turns your hurt into wisdom. You stop seeing a monster, and you start seeing a flawed, struggling human being who has temporarily lost their reason. And why should you be offended by someone who has lost their reason? It would be like getting angry at a fever for making a patient sweat. It is just a symptom of their condition. Section 3. The Truth Test, the Stoic Filter. Once you have managed your initial reaction and recognized the source of the insult, it is time to engage your greatest weapon, your rational mind. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions. It is about examining them with ruthless logic. When an insult comes your way, you must immediately run it through what we call the Stoic filter. This filter asks one simple, binary question: is it true or is it false? Let's apply this to the real world. Imagine you are at work. Your manager pulls you aside and says, "You've been incredibly disorganized lately, and your last report was sloppy." Your immediate instinct is defense. Your ego wants to scream, "I am working harder than anyone here." But the Stoic hits the pause button and looks at the data. Scenario A, it is true. If you look at your schedule honestly, have you been disorganized? Did you rush that report? If the answer is yes, then the insult, even if it was delivered rudely, contains a gem of truth. In this case, the person isn't actually insulting you, they are describing reality. Marcus Aurelius said, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or seeing things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after." If the insult is true, you shouldn't be angry. You should actually be grateful. This person has just pointed out a flaw that you can now fix. They have given you the blueprint for your own improvement. Swallow your pride, look them in the eye and say, "You are right. I have been slipping. I will fix it." Do you know what happens when you do that? You completely disarm them. You take all the power out of their attack because you have agreed with the fact. Scenario B, it is false. Now, let's say the insult is a lie. Let's say someone calls you dishonest, but you know for a fact that you have acted with total integrity. The Stoic response is, "Why are you angry at a mistake? If someone walked up to you and seriously claimed that you have 3 heads and purple skin, would you be offended? Would you fly into a rage? Of course not. You would think they were hallucinating. You would feel a strange mix of confusion and pity, but certainly not anger. When someone insults you with a lie, it is no different. It is an error in their perception. It is a glitch in their programming. As Epictetus taught, if someone thinks you are acting badly when you are not, they are the one who is mistaken, and they are the one who suffers the consequences of that error. They are the one walking around with a false map of reality, not you. So, if the insult is false, it has nothing to do with you. It is merely a noise that signifies nothing. In modern America, we struggle with this because we are obsessed with clarifying things. We feel a desperate need to set the record straight on social media or in group chat. We waste hours typing out paragraphs to defend ourselves against strangers or acquaintances who don't matter. The Stoic realizes that this is a waste of life. If you know the truth, and the gods know the truth, let the other person be wrong. It is not your job to cure everyone's blindness. Section 4. The Art of the Pause, Mastering the Gap. We have discussed the theory, but how do we apply this in the heat of the moment? When the blood is rushing to your ears and your heart is pounding, logic is the first thing to leave the room. We live in the age of the clapback. American culture, driven by Twitter wars, reality TV, and instant messaging, has conditioned us to believe that speed equals strength. If someone insults you, you feel you must respond instantly. If you don't, you think you look weak. You think you've lost. The Stoics would tell you that the opposite is true. Reactivity is slavery. If someone can make you angry with a single sentence, they own you. They have a remote control to your emotions, and they are pressing the buttons whenever they please. To regain your freedom, you must master the gap. Between the stimulus, the insult, and the response, what you do, there is a space. In that space lies your freedom. Your goal is to widen that gap. Here is the practical technique you are going to use. I call it the 4-second fortress. The next time someone insults you, whether it's a rude waiter, a toxic family member, or a passive-aggressive coworker, do not speak. Do not type. Do not roll your eyes. Force yourself to take a 4-second pause. 1, 2, 3, 4. In those 4 seconds, take a deep breath. Look the person directly in the eyes. Maintain a neutral expression. This silence is terrifying to the person attacking you. They are expecting a fight. They are expecting you to get defensive, to yell, to cry. They need your reaction to validate their aggression. When you give them nothing but silence and a calm gaze, you disrupt their pattern. They suddenly become self-conscious. You will see them start to fidget. They might even stutter or try to explain themselves. In that silence, you are reminding yourself, I am in control here. I am the master of my inner citadel. Silence is not submission. Silence is the loudest sound in the room. It signals that you are considering their words, weighing them, and finding them unworthy of a quick reaction. It signals that you are an adult operating on a higher frequency. Think of the most powerful people you know or have seen in history. When they are challenged, do they scream and shout immediately? No. They pause. They process. They respond on their own timeline. By refusing to react instantly, you keep your dignity intact. You deny the insulter the satisfaction of seeing you bleed. You prove to yourself that your peace is too expensive to be bought with cheap words. Section 5. Kindness as a weapon, disarming the aggressor. Now that you have mastered the pause, you have a choice to make. You can stay silent or you can engage. If you choose to speak, Stoicism offers a counterintuitive strategy that is absolutely devastating to an aggressor. Most people in our culture think fighting back means roasting the other person. We think strength looks like shouting louder, having the last word, or coming up with a witty comeback that humiliates them. But Stoics believe that fighting back means maintaining your character while the other person loses theirs. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that stops you in your tracks. Kindness is invincible, but only when it's sincere, not fawning or a pretense. For what can even the most malicious person do if you keep showing kindness and, if given the chance, gently advise them and educate them while they are trying to harm you? This is what I call the confusing gentleness technique. When someone attacks you, they are psychologically bracing for impact. They are muscles tensed, ready for your counterattack. When you respond with genuine calmness or even kindness, they fall forward. You remove the resistance they were pushing against. Let's look at a real-life scenario. Imagine a coworker says to you in front of the team, "That presentation was a disaster. You clearly didn't prepare." The average person defends, "I did prepare. You don't know what you're talking about." Now you are in a debate. You are in the mud. The Stoic, however, might pause for 4 seconds and then say, calmly and sincerely, "You might be right. I felt like I missed some key points too. How would you have handled it differently to make it better?" Do you see what just happened? You didn't just defuse the bomb, you dismantled it. By agreeing with the possibility of your own imperfection and asking for their input, you instantly shifted the dynamic from enemy versus enemy to student versus teacher. You robbed them of their fuel. They cannot fight someone who is asking for advice. They cannot destroy someone who is humble. This isn't about being a doormat. It is about being a fortress. A doormat lets people walk all over them because they are afraid. A fortress opens its gates because it knows it cannot be conquered. By responding with kindness, you are showing that you are so secure in your own worth that their hostility doesn't even register as a threat. You are treating them like a tantrum-throwing child, with patience, not anger. There is no greater power move than refusing to be turned into a monster by someone else's monstrosity. Section 6. The view from above, perspective. Finally, if the insult still stings, if you still feel that burning resentment in your chest, Marcus Aurelius offers us the ultimate tool. It is a mental exercise known as the view from above. Sometimes we cannot shake an insult because we are too zoomed in. We are living in the microscopic details of our own drama. We think this moment, this argument, this slight against our reputation is the most important thing in the universe. The Stoic cure is to zoom out. Way out. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Imagine lifting out of your body. Rise above the room you are in. Rise above your city. See the grid of streets, the thousands of cars, the millions of people rushing around, all of them worrying about their own problems, their own arguments, their own insults. Go higher. See the curve of the earth. See the continent. See the timeline of history. Think about the billions of humans who have lived and died before you. Think of the emperors, the conquerors, the peasants, and the poets. They all had enemies. They all were insulted. They all felt anger. And now? They are all dust. Their names are forgotten. The insults that kept them awake at night are lost to the silence of eternity. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this. He wrote, "Think of the whole universe of matter and how small your share. Think of the expanse of time and how brief, almost momentary, the part marked for you. In the grand scheme of things, does this insult really matter? Does the opinion of one confused, angry person in the year 2026 really change the trajectory of your existence? When you take the view from above, you realize that your time here is incredibly short. You have a limited amount of life energy in your battery. Do you really want to spend 10% of your remaining energy being angry at a stranger on the internet? Do you want to spend your precious hours stewing over a rude comment from a relative? Of course not. It is too expensive. The cost is your life. This perspective isn't meant to make you feel small or insignificant. It is meant to make you feel free. It liberates you from the petty dramas of the day. It reminds you that you have bigger things to do. You have a purpose. You have a life to live. You have a character to build. The insults? They are just dust in the wind. Let them blow away. We have traveled through the mind of the emperor today. We have learned that an insult is only an offer, one that you can politely decline. We learned to identify the anatomy of the sting, realizing that we are often complicit in our own suffering. We learned to look at the source of the insult, seeing our enemies not as villains, but as people suffering from their own internal sickness. We applied the truth test, accepting facts and discarding fiction. We mastered the art of the pause, reclaiming our freedom in the gap between stimulus and response. We discovered kindness as a weapon, disarming aggression with confusing gentleness. And finally, we took the view from above, finding peace in the vastness of perspective. You now possess the blueprint. You have the armor. But knowledge is not enough. You must practice it. The next time the world tries to test you, and it will test you, remember that you have the power to choose not to be harmed. You have the power to remain a king or queen of your own mind. Thank you for spending your valuable time with Timeless Wisdom Official today. I know there are millions of videos you could be watching, and I am honored you chose to spend these minutes investing in your own growth. If you found strength in these words, I warmly invite you to subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who needs this armor. Help us spread this ancient wisdom to a modern world that desperately needs it. And I have a question for you. I want to hear from you in the comments below. What is the one situation in your life where you find it hardest to keep your cool? Is it at work? With family? In traffic? Let's share our struggles and learn from each other. Until next time, stay wise, stay strong, and remember, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury.